Rev up your engines! Everybody knows what I think about Audis that have been watching, but here's a really interesting story. His mechanic is a guy he went to high school with, who's a Volkswagen mechanic, of course owns Audi, they share all the technology, and he also works on the side with his own lift, his own stuff. He charges him $50 an hour. In Connecticut, it's $200 an hour at the dealer, and of course, his friend is being honest with him. Get that from a dealership? Nah, maybe once in a blue moon in an Audi dealership. Beautiful looking cars, there's no arguing that, but this is pretty interesting because it's the A6, but it's TDI, it's a diesel. And he's a smart man. Did he buy this car new? No. Originally, these things with this option of diesel around $72,000. Yes, I'm not making this up. 72 grand for this little car. What did he pay? He paid 26, and it had 24,000 miles on it. Now, he admits, even at that price, he would have never bought this car except for his high school buddy who works on him on the side for only 50 bucks an hour and is honest, and it only had 26,000 miles on it. We're not talking all that many miles. Because here in the United States, of course, Audis are luxury cars. That kind of money for a car, it's a luxury car, right? I'll give you an example. The last quarter, Audi set a new record for they sold over 500,000 cars worldwide. But that quarter in the United States, they only sold 34,874 cars. Isn't that Americans are wising up and the rest of the world is becoming stupid? Maybe so, but on the other hand, you gotta understand, over here they're luxury cars. The rest of the world, they sell a lot smaller cars that cost a lot less money. Mechanics work on them, they've used them for years. Even with my hatred of Volkswagens, I got European friends that they've been driving for decades. The people know how to work on them, the parts are cheaper in Europe. And of course, with this Audi, it is made in Germany. Read it to your heart's content. They are solid built cars, and in this case, it's a V6 diesel. They get phenomenal gas mileage. He gets 38 miles a gallon going 80 miles an hour. Watch out, police. They're designed for cruising along the highway. Now, of course, this was part of Dieselgate. As you can see here, the recall's been fixed on this one. And even after that recall, because of course they were cheating to get better gas mileage, he went 642 miles and still had 80 miles left when he was driving to visit his girlfriend in Ohio. These things have an awful lot of range. Of course, I'm not going to argue this. They're extremely comfortable cars. You could do that without your rear end going numb. Now he bought it with 26 and he's got 61,350 miles on it. Now, he hasn't had any real problems. He had the brake pads replaced because they just flat wore out, and he changes the fuel filter every 15,000 miles. Remember, this is a diesel. Diesel fuel is strange. Mold and bacteria can actually grow in the diesel. So you gotta change your filters a lot. Now he drives it every day, so it's not like it's an old boat sitting in the ocean with a diesel engine and it's gonna really clog up, not being used most of the time. It's used all the time, but he's religious about changing his filter. Now, of course, realize whoever bought this car first, they lost an awful lot of money, considering that it was 72, and of course, the people that sold it to him made a profit, right? So that meant whoever owned it originally lost even more money than that. Not only does he maintain his vehicle, but having his friend, who's a mechanic, who doesn't rip him off, you really need a mechanic, or be a mechanic if you own one of these. As they age, this isn't aged yet, really, but he's smart. He's got an Autel scan tool. He can scan all the stuff, and if he thinks there's a problem, if a light comes on, all he has to do is send that scan to his friend, and he'll say, don't worry about it, I'll fix it when you get back from vacation, and he's telling the truth. Now, of course, if you had a scan tool and you didn't have a mechanic, you called the dealer, they'd say, don't even drive the car, tow it to us and have us fix the car. But he doesn't have to worry about that. He's in a rather unique position here. And of course, he maintains it religiously. He watched my videos and he realized this has got the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission in it, and Audi told him, don't worry about it, you never need to change the fluid, it's lifetime, blah, blah, blah. So he contacted ZF, the company that manufactures them, and they suggested that he changes the fluid every 60,000 miles. Because they want a good image. They don't want this, oh, don't worry about it, and then it breaks and you're mad. They want a good image, and they'll tell you the truth, yeah. So he's having his mechanic change it soon. That's what you do. You got to maintain these things correctly. Now, a lot of people say, oh, stinking diesels, they don't get out of their own way. Okay, this has 240 horsepower, but it has 428 pound-feet of torque. That's a lot of torque. You know what torque means? You take off real fast. And it's also turbocharged. You know, the Germans have been doing diesels for years. They've even raced diesels. Don't think that their diesels don't have some oomph to them. This isn't an old Mercedes four-cylinder diesel that had 98 horsepower. They've gone a long way since then. So let's take it for a spin. Now, there's no question these things are solid built. Listen to the door. Thump. And smelly, rattly diesels? Well, I can't feel anything shaking on the CF transmission at idles. Believe me, they're quiet and smooth. It's a typical ZF 8-speed. You got sport mode, manual mode. You can play till your heart's content. Here's our test road. You know, it rides quite well, as good as you're going to ride on a bumpy road like this with tall tires. Realize if you put smaller tires, he put big ones on, it will ride a little bit smoother. Now let's see what these ponies can do. Here we go. Wow! Hey, it threw me back in the seat. Let me tell you, these things have horsepower. So Scotty impressed? Yes, Scotty is impressed, especially that he paid a lot less for it. Realize this guy did Audi correctly. With his friend who knows Audis, works at a dealership, and then works on the side on people's cars. He brought him this car, and the guy said, oh yeah, it's in excellent shape. But the main reason he got this car is because of this V6. His friend, who works at the dealership, said, whatever you do not buy one of those 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged Audis. I spend all my time working at the dealer, working on those, the ones that are in Audis, the ones that are in Volkswagens. It's the same company. Stay away. Doesn't matter what price you think you're getting, that's great. On a 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbo Audi, you'll regret the decision if you keep the car any length of time. I had a corporate lawyer neighbor back in Houston that had one. The transmission blew up at 35,000 miles, and he said, I can't afford this. Guy was making like $450,000, $500,000 a year. And it just griped him that. He thought he got this great German car, but it was a 4-cylinder turbo, gasoline. They are not good engines over time. These diesels, that's another story entirely. Sure, they cheated, but they just cheated on emissions with software. And now they've turned it back again. There's nothing wrong with these engines in terms of lifespan. And the interesting thing about this car is, since they did that emissions over, and they did it twice, it's got the stickers, right? The warranty goes till 2024. And it covers even the turbochargers. They got caught cheating. So that was one of the deals they did with the government. So do you have to worry about, oh man, it won't pass emissions? Hey, even though this is a 2014, the warranty is until 2024. So if you did buy a used one like he did at a good price, don't think, oh, the emissions went out, it's going to cost a fortune. No, they cover it till 2024. That was another one of the deals. And you can see, it got a lot of guts to it. This is after they changed it so that it didn't pollute. It had even more before. And this is plenty enough, let me tell you. Now, as I said, you got to maintain these things. He changes his oil every 5,000 miles. They say they changed it every 10. Now, it's his money, and it's a wise move to change it more often. But I do have to say one thing about this. It is a diesel. And do understand, diesel fuel is actually a lubricant. Put some on your hand. It's slimy. Put gasoline on? No, it cleans, right? We used to clean ties with gasoline when I was young. With diesel, you can actually go further on your oil changes because it's a lubricant. If you get gasoline mixed with your engine oil, you get diesel fuel, it doesn't hurt anything. It's a lubricant. So he's doing the right thing. He's changing it every 5. But truthfully, you could get away with 10 in a car like this. Or once a year if you don't drive very many miles, because it is a diesel. You just have to do like he does. He changes the fuel filter every 15,000 miles. You never know what's going to get in that. You might as well as change it. It's a simple thing. These are designed so it's not that hard to work on that aspect. They knew it was going to be changed. It's not like some of the cars today where you got to drop the gas tank and take it apart to change the fuel filter. They weren't that dumb when they designed this thing. Now, as per usual, it's not do-it-yourself stuff. The fuel filter is just under the passenger seat. But when you take it off and put it on, it's got air in it, and you have to have the Audi computer so you can bleed the air out of it, because you will destroy the high pressure fuel pump if you don't. So you don't just go in there and put a new one, start it up. You'll probably destroy your high pressure fuel pump. This is why somebody like him, he's smart. His friend is only charging him 50 bucks an hour, and he does it right, and he's got all the equipment because he's a dealer mechanic. That's what you need if you really buy one of these and you want to take care of it. Don't think, oh, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to do everything myself. You can't. But if you know an Audi mechanic like that, and believe me, there's an underground economy these days out there where people are like $200 an hour for working on the cars. He charges 50. Hey, there's a big underground economy, and you can find people like this. Believe me, there's always people out there. So if you buy an Audi like this, make sure it's a diesel, not that 4-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. And if, like him, you could pay about 1/3 of the original price with only 26,000 miles on it, and you have a friend who is a mechanic who's only charging you 50 bucks an hour instead of 200, then yes, this could be a wise choice. But there aren't that many people in that kind of a situation. This may be a one-off here. Now, of course, under this beauty cover, there's all kinds of technology. Hey, look at all them wires. There's a lot, and there's a big old turbocharger on it too. And at least the oil filter is easy to get to. Now, it doesn't have a dipstick, you know. I find that to be kind of a dipstick mistake myself, but he doesn't go by this, oh, just suck the oil out, because it's hard to take the bottom carriage off. He has the bottom carriage taken off, and they remove the oil drain plug to change the oil. It's only common sense. They say, oh, it's perfectly fine to just suck the old oil off. What does crud do? It sinks to the bottom. Do you really want to leave that in there for the life of the car? Yeah, sure, the engine will still run. Maybe it'll start burning oil, and it'll have problems long after the warranty is up, but you really want to do that. And if, say, you're a guy who does it yourself, my advice, cut yourself an access hole and then just make the access hole come off and then fasten it back on. It makes sense. I don't know why they didn't build that in the first place, but realize these are luxury cars here in the United States. So we'll close the hood on this Audi, and if you follow every single warning I just gave in this video, maybe you can have fun buying a used Audi. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.